All things Mavs.
And they'll reset. Nowitzki again for the lead. Bang!
What's going on, basketball world? Welcome into the All Things Mavs podcast. I know it's been a minute. It's been a little crazy lately with me and everything with Chat Sports. It's been a pretty wild end of the summer for me. I go back to Stillwater, Oklahoma, going back to school for my senior year in a couple weeks, actually, which is just absolutely wild that that's coming up so fast. But, man, I'm excited, and we got some Mavs stuff to talk about. So we're going to get into all of it on today's podcast. I mean, I guess it's not that much, but there are, a couple little pieces of news and rumors that I definitely want to address. So I want to start out with something fun, though. And this is what we're going to start with, okay? So, this meme is getting popular around Twitter of, which table would you want to sit at? And it's like, a lunchroom with a bunch of heads floating around on it. So I was like, hey, that doesn't look that hard to make. I'm going to make one based off of Mavs people, based on Mavs players, Mavs media, Mavs coaches, and see what I can come up with. And I got a ton of responses. It was a lot of really good engagement with the Mavs Twitter world, as it always is. And I'm just going to give you a little peek into, what I was thinking when I did all this stuff, because it was fun, and I got pretty wild with it. I think it was pretty fun. So, table one is Dirk Nowitzki, and you're like, all right, easy pick there, right? No, because I put Dirk Nowitzki, Rajon Rondo, and Avery Johnson. And you can kind of see what I was doing with here was like, I didn't want to make it too easy by putting a bunch of people that people like, but I didn't want to make it too hard and put a bunch of people that people hate. So I went Dirk, who is the best Maverick of all time, everyone's favorite Maverick of all time, and Rajon Rondo, who's everybody's least favorite Maverick of all time. And then I put Coach Avery Johnson on there, and obviously remember him for leading him to the 2006 NBA Finals. He kind of left with some drama. There's definitely some drama with his coaching. And here's how you can look at Avery Johnson. You can look at him at two ways. Number one, you could be like, that's a great coach. I'd love to sit with him. He's super social, seems super fun. Or you could be like, I don't want to sit next to Avery Johnson because I'm not sure I could handle his voice for an entire sit-down meal. But after I sit this out, I tagged Jason Terry because he's in one of these tables, and Jet responded to me. He actually responded, which was really, really cool. He said, if I can't sit at my own table, which I'll read off his table in a second, I'm sitting at table one, and that is Avery Johnson, Rajon Rondo, and Dirk, or I'm sitting at 7 by the door in case a food fight breaks out, and that's pretty reasonable. So that's table one, okay? Table two, Luka Doncic, everybody's current favorite Maverick, Lamar Odom, everybody still hates Lamar, I think, and then Skin. And everybody loves Jeff Skin Wade. He's one of my favorites. So I like table 2 a lot. Table 3 was Kristaps Porzingis, Mark Followell, and DeAndre Jordan. And depending on how you feel about DeAndre Jordan, if you still hate him, that you don't want to go to that table at all. If you actually like DeAndre, if you think he redeemed himself, then hey, go sit at table number 3. And also, if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about with all these table things, go to my Twitter, All Things Mavs. I tweeted the picture out. Go look at it, and you'll kind of figure out what I'm talking about here. Table 6, I threw together a random one here. Jason Terry, Derek Harper, and Chandler Parsons. And Chandler Parsons is still, it's another 50-50 thing. People love or hate him. Everybody loves Jet. And Derek Harper, I like Harper. I think he's super cool and everything, but he says some really outlandish stuff on the air when it comes to broadcasting. So not really outlandish, but sometimes it's just like, wait, why'd you say that, Derek? But anyway, that's table 6. Table 5, JJ Barea, Shane Larkin, and Rick Carlisle. Table 4, Mark Cuban, Tyson Chandler, and Derek Fisher, who is the most forgettable Maverick of all time. Table 7, Steve Nash, Deshaun Stevenson, and Cedric Ceballos, who, another guy that just said a lot of wild stuff on the Fox Sports broadcast last season. And then table 8, I went with all players for this one. Boban, who wouldn't want to sit with Boban? Sean Marion and OJ Mayo. So definitely with an interesting one there. But anyway, that was fun. And that was just something I want to talk about on the podcast because I had fun with it. And there were some good responses. There was no one table that people were like, yeah, definitely want to sit at that one. Because none of them were super easy. So there wasn't a clear cut winner. I think number 1, just because of Dirk, probably got the most wins. So good stuff there. Always enjoy some random fun Twitter content when literally nothing is happening, man. I mean, it's the most dead period in the offseason when it comes to news and rumors in the Mavs world and in the NBA world in general. But now I want to get into the piece of news that we actually did have. When it comes to Mavs, there was finally some little bits of news. And here it was. Isaiah Roby, the 45th overall pick in the draft, signed his deal with the Mavericks. So the Mavs had, 15, or they had 14. I'll take that back. They technically had 17 players agreed to with, because you think of J.J. Barea, the two-way contracts, and then Dakota Mathias. But they didn't have 15 actually signed, or 17 actually signed quite yet. So they give their last roster spot to Isaiah Roby, and they give him a 4-year, $6.7 million deal. Now, why is that significant? Well, he's got a cap hit of $1.5 million. So he's got, his first and second year guaranteed. And that is the most in NBA history, the most guaranteed money made by a rookie that was drafted in the second round of the NBA draft. So really interesting there. And we'll get to why that's interesting in just a minute. But this is definitely some news, and I'm happy about it. And here's why I'm happy about it. Not because I think, Isaiah Roby is going to be an all-star or anything like that, but because when you draft a player, especially when you said you were going to draft him at 37 overall, you give that player a chance. Dakota Mathias wasn't going to make the roster. JJ Barea is fun. JJ Barea is still going to be around. That's good. But we needed this help, and we drafted Isaiah Roby for a reason. We felt good about him. And you draft a player, you should give him a shot. And that's what they did. And really, they're giving him more than a shot now with a 4-year, $6.7 million deal to the kid out of Nebraska. Look, first player since, I think it was Tyronn Lue to get drafted out of Nebraska. It's Isaiah Roby. When the pick happened, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't super happy about it. Didn't really know a lot about the guy or his game, but I watched a lot. I watched actual film. I didn't just watch, game highlights. I watched actual full games of Isaiah Roby afterward. Dude, the kid can play. I mean, he was a first round talent when it comes to, the Mavericks board. They had him on their first round as a late first round talent. And, what he did at Nebraska, the numbers don't really catch your eye all that much. He averaged 12 points per game, 1.9 assists per game. The 7 rebounds is really good for the Mavs, especially 33% from the three-point arc in his junior year. In his sophomore year, he shot 41%. So maybe he can get back to that. He's a pretty good shot blocker, 1.9 per game. He's, the dude could play at Nebraska. I really liked what the Mavs did by trading down, getting a guy they liked, and then also getting the 2 second-round picks that I think those 2 were flipped for DeLon Wright, but I'm not really sure. Maybe they still – I'm not sure which 2 they gave up for Wright, but those 2 might have been those. I'm not really sure. Anyway, that's beside the point. But what I do want to talk about is Isaiah Roby in the Summer League, because he had one really, really great game. He had a game where he just showed out and he did everything. He blocked shots. He got steals. He played the passing lanes. He was showing that he can shoot a 3. He was showing that he was super athletic, which, by the way, his athleticism, he's such a fluid athlete. And that's going to really help him in the long run, and the Mavericks in the long run as well. But overall, you look at his stats and you're like, okay, why did the Mavs give this guy a 4-year deal? Which, by the way, first 2 years are guaranteed. Third year has some weird kind of guaranteed date sort of thing. And then the 4th year is a team option, which is always nice to have a team option on a contract. So in the 5 games that he played in Vegas, the numbers are kind of, they're not great, 9 points per game, 1.2 blocks, 1 steal, which is really good that you have 1 and 1 on both of those. He was a 5.2 rebound per game kind of guy, 1.4 assist. 3-point percentage wasn't good. And so there were definitely big question marks there with the Summer League games. And it was does this warrant him getting a 4-year deal? Well, let me remind you. The Mavericks drafted Jalen Brunson 2 years ago in the NBA draft in the second round. And they signed him to a similar deal. And they were like, hey, look, we believe in Jalen Brunson. We're going to give him this deal. We drafted him for a reason. And then Summer League came around. Let me just remind you of what Jalen Brunson did in the Summer League, because it's Summer League. 6.8 points per game, 4 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers, and he was a 30% shooter from 3-point. So not good from Jalen Brunson. This is a guy that became a starting point guard when Dennis Smith Jr. and J.J. Barea were gone. J.J. because of injury, Dennis obviously after the trade. And so now Isaiah Roby's going to get a very similar shot, I think, as Jalen Brunson. And I think that's going to be super fun to watch. With this team, with the Mavericks and with Isaiah Roby. So, Roby in college was definitely used as a power forward, but he's 6'8", 230. And when you're 6'8" in the NBA, you can be Luka Doncic is nearly 6'8", and he plays a shooting guard, positionless basketball, whatever. But Roby can be a 3 to a 4, a small ball 5. I mean, he played 5 in the Summer League, which is, not normal at all. He's not going to play the 5 a lot in the NBA, if at all. But she shows that he can. And when you're the Mavs, being any NBA team, I think Isaac Harris and Nick Angstead have said this a lot on their podcast, Locked On Mavs. You can never have enough of these 6'8" combo forwards, and that's what Roby is. He's a good athlete. He's got a chance to be a really good shooter. He's got great mechanics. He's a really good defender. He's got to bulk up. And another thing that I think he struggled with in Summer League that kind of hurt his overall game was his ability to catch the ball in traffic. He kind of fumbled the ball. He had Eric Dampier-like hands sometimes. It wasn't great. But that's something you work on. That's something a college kid can get better at. That's not a big worry for me. So, looking back at this team, what the Mavs are going to have and why I think they needed and wanted Isaiah Roby on this 4-year deal is because you have guys like Luka Doncic playing the forward position. Justin Jackson's a forward. Dorian Finney-Smith is a forward. And then you got Porzingis, Powell, and Kleba, and Boban. Those are your bigs. Finney-Smith is really the only one of those guys that's like a combo 3-4. And I think that's exactly what they want Isaiah Roby to be, but a little bit more offense than Dorian Finney-Smith brings. Dorian Finney-Smith's probably a better defender. He is a better defender right this second. But look, Roby can handle the ball. He can pass the ball. He's super talented. They kind of hope he can be a better defensive kind of Kyle Kuzma type guy, maybe a Draymond Green with less bulk, less rebounding. Even though he's a great rebounder because he's such a good athlete and he goes after every board. That's the thing I love about Roby, is just the fact that, like Dwight Powell, he goes so hard after every single play. So I'm really excited that we gave him a real shot and that he's actually going to become hopefully a real contributor for this team. Another thing is that he's a 3-year college guy. He's coming off of his junior year. It's not like he's played one season and they drafted him like they did with Kostas Antetokounmpo, who they cut, which we haven't really talked about on this podcast because, frankly, Kostas Antetokounmpo isn't good at basketball. He just isn't. So Roby's definitely better than him. Roby's better than another guy that I think I kind of thought back to when they made this deal was Ray Spalding, who now I believe he signed a deal with the Atlanta Hawks. And good for Spalding, good for Ray. I think he could have been a big contributor for the Mavs eventually, but he went to Phoenix. He had one great game. He went to Atlanta now, and we'll see if he does anything there. And that's what I kind of thought of. I think there's definitely potential that this Roby deal is kind of like what they did with Spalding, and they gave Spalding a deal. Is that what Roby is? No, because Roby's got more guaranteed money, which just shows that they believe in him. It shows that the coaching staff liked what they saw out of Summer League. They like what they're seeing in practice. Obviously, they're not like in training camp or anything right now, but just in general, like at Summer League, they believe that he's going to be a good player. They saw it when he worked out for them before the draft. So, I've seen people on Twitter saying, "Oh, we pay Isaiah Roby, but we won't pay free agents." No, it's very different when you're paying a rookie versus paying it. That's just the dumbest thing. You can't even compare the two, especially when it's this kind of money. It's $6 million. It's not going to kill you. That was just a stupid take. So you kind of look at the depth chart and it's like, okay, well now is he a 3? Is he a 4? Is he a small ball 5? And that's a great question because I don't really have a good answer for it. I think there's nights where there's going to be nights. I mean, more often than not, I'm not expecting him to play 82 games. Heck, I'm not expecting him to really play 70 games. I think he appears in a few, and we'll see if he gets good run. And if not, maybe he's a trade chip somewhere down the road as a young guy to package along with Tim Hardaway Jr. or Courtney Lee's contract. Even though I've said it once, I'll say it again. I like Tim Hardaway Jr. for this team in the right role. It's just the money is tough. I get that. But anyway, we'll see what Roby becomes and how much he actually plays. But right now, I think you have to slot him in the backup power forward position. Not backup, immediate backup, but in that power forward kind of reserve role. Because, Powell is a 5. Boban is a 5. Maxey is kind of your backup 4. But he's a 5 sometimes. Dorian Finney-Smith is a 4. 3-4. And then after that, your only other power forward is Porzingis. So, yeah, I'd put him as a backup 4 for now. And then your depth is sort of okay, your starting 5. This is what I predict to be the starting 5 is Jalen Brunson. Oh, not Jalen Brunson, sorry. DeLon Wright, Luka Doncic, Justin Jackson, Porzingis, and Powell. And then your main backups are Jalen Brunson, Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, and Maxey. And that's pretty small. And then you're okay, well, maybe you want Roby in there instead. Maybe you want Boban and Roby. Maybe you want Boban, Maxey, and Roby all together. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I just think it's a good idea to say, hey, this is a young guy. This is a guy we drafted. This is the guy we wanted. So we're going to give him a deal. And I like it. I'm pretty excited about it. And that's really all that's happening with the Mavs right now. I mean, it's a slow period for sure. It definitely is, but I'm super excited for training camp. Training camp gets started late September. But also, there are a couple Mavs games that were announced. The schedule got leaked by old Brad Townsend. He got the inside scoop on a couple games that are going to be played for the Dallas Mavericks. The 2 opening games, which I think is by far the most exciting, is hey, these are our openers. So their first game is October 23rd at home, and they're finally opening at home again. I'm super excited about that. It's been a while since the Mavs have gotten a chance to be in the AAC on night 1, and now they're going to be. So they play the Washington Wizards, and I would put all kinds of money down on the fact that the Mavs should open 1-0. And it's a given, right? You would think, because it's the Wizards, man. I mean, they have Bradley Beal and Rui Hachimura. That's their big 2. Isaiah Thomas, no. Ish Smith, no. Thomas Bryant, yeah, right. So I'm excited about that. I think we'll see, IT. I think the Wizards will start Isaiah Thomas, Bradley Beal. God, that team is so bad. Rui Hachimura, Thomas Bryant, and whoever their 3 is. I can't even think off the top of my head. I'm just kind of doing this podcast off the top, and I can't even think who their small forward is at the moment. But yeah, so Luka versus Bradley Beal, I'll take Luka all day. DeLon Wright. DeLon Wright will probably be the one guarding Bradley Beal. I don't know who Luka guards, whoever their 3 is at the time. And you just run with that, man. I mean, that's an easy win right there. It's a good way to kind of get the season started off in the right groove. You get Porzingis to go up against a rookie power forward in Hachimura, and he's way bigger than him. I mean, Hachimura is already undersized, and Porzingis is oversized, so that should be a nightmare matchup for them, and just a dream matchup for us. So I'm excited that we get to start out with an easy team and at home as well. I'm going to do everything I can to be in Dallas that night. And then the next night is where things get interesting for the Mavs. Or not the next night, the next game. Friday, so October 25th, the Mavs are going to play in New Orleans, which sucks, but they're going to play in New Orleans against the Pelicans, which is the first night we'll get a chance to see Zion Williamson against the Mavs. Luka versus Zion. And man, the biggest worry I have with that game is who's going to guard Zion? You can't put Porzingis on him, I don't think. maybe you do, but like I don't want that matchup. I don't want Porzingis to have to bang with Zion Williamson. I think that might be a night where you see Porzingis start at the 5. So he guards like Derek Favors, who I'm not really worried about. And it's your matchup that night. This is where Rick Carlisle said, "Hey, these are going to be, fluid matchups, so just be ready." This is a night where you go DeLon, Luka, Justin Jackson, and Dorian Finney-Smith, and you go small ball, and then Luka, and then Porzingis at the 5. Because I want Dorian to guard Zion Williamson. I really do. I think that makes the most sense because, with help defense from Porzingis and perimeter defense from Finney-Smith, it makes sense. Maybe you run a zone sometimes. I don't really know. That'll be interesting. The Pelicans will probably roll out a lineup of Lonzo Ball, Drew Holiday, Brandon Ingram. Luka cooks Brandon Ingram, so not really worried about that one. He also cooks Drew Holiday. And frankly, he'd probably cook Lonzo Ball too. Not really worried about Lonzo from the scoring position or from a scoring stance. What's the word? Standpoint. And then just stick Luka on probably Drew Holiday, maybe Brandon Ingram, and Justin Jackson on whoever he doesn't guard. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch. That's going to be the opening weekend for the Dallas Mavericks. Man, I can't wait. I mean, it feels like so far away, but really it's not. It's like 2 months, 2.5. What is this? August, September, October? Yeah, like 2.5 months. So that's coming up before we know it. And I'm going to be keeping you updated right here on the All Things Mavs podcast all day, every single day. Hey, despite not being super consistent quite yet, it's going to get there here in about 2 weeks. We're going to have some more consistent podcasts. I appreciate some consistent listening. You guys have been awesome on YouTube, youtube.com/allthingsmavs. Make sure you check that out. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's been great. I think I get, the most listens there. Anchor, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to these podcasts, subscribe, leave me a comment, leave me a review. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to hear. Hopefully we'll probably do another Q&A here pretty soon. So if you got some questions, start getting those in now because again, this is a dead season and I'm all about just answering y'all's questions and talking Mavs with you guys, with the fans. So follow me on Twitter, All Things Mavs. Follow me wherever you want to. No, but I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon. Don't you worry.